That was undeniable proof that we totally owned you, lamers.
4 months or 4 years. Who knows? VJ.
Hello, hello. Sorry, I'm back. Sorry for the delay. What's good, y'all? Good girl car. Thank you for the prime. And Whitney FN. Thank you for the 7 months. Sadie Light. Thank you for the 4 months or 4 years. Are you an alt account? Are you a banned person who came back? That's exactly what somebody who was banned and came back would say. You eat anything good today? I ate Chipotle. I watch your YouTube stuff long ago. Oh. What do you have to do to get banned here? Piss me off a lot. Or be a dickhead. What am I sniffing? Vapo rub. I'm trying to stop using Afrin as much. And I have this, so. Yeah, I got my haircut today. I went to a new lady. She does hair on like movie and show sets, which is very exciting. She was really good. Yeah, she cooked. She was really good. I have not tried the Thai sniffing stuff. Tell me if you want me to. So I need to record this video. Loving you. Hello, Fee. I'm not adding He's Tight to my chat because I'm not down with the tightness. Did I tell you not to add that one? What's up, Apatox Rotty? New vid on your second channel, and this coming out is fucking hilarious. Yeah, dude, I've had that video ready to upload forever, but I haven't. I like was waiting to upload it, and then they released this, so I had to do a new intro. What's up, J Dot? You just said LMFAO. Did I put the Z there too? I feel like that was accurate. I put the Z there. Thank you, Cue Ball. How many days till season 2? 8 days? Ain't good enough. Yeah, that shit sucks. I don't see any use case for that emoji that's going to be normal. We gotta kick it. We gotta veto that. What's good, Plus James? My chat is already sus without having a toolkit. If we give them a toolkit, it's over. If you dropped a sub to say thanks for all the hard work keeping us entertained, providing a great learning environment, thank you. I appreciate the generosity. You just demonstrated a use case by saying it's bro. Give chat a soundboard? Fuck no. It's gonna turn into a Landon stream. Both of those emotes are ass. What's up, Cheesemon? What's up, Pro Bays? Am I getting buying quick play death matches? Any generic tips for adapting to my opponents? No, it's really vague. Sorry. It's hard. It depends on each person. Like, it depends what you're not adapting to. Is it what you're doing on your character or what they're doing on their character, right? What's up, AV? Yeah. What other games have you tried lately? Monster Hunter Wilds? I wonder if I updated my drivers. Maybe it won't crash. Hi, Daddy. I'm no one's dad, but along those lines, did you see SK's tweet? SK tweeted this. She's like, wait, I'm not actually 43. Because somebody's like watching SK and then being hit with the... Okay. Do I need to move this to the right side? I feel like left side is so much more fun. I'm a real left side chat kind of guy. Or left side webcam kind of guy, but right side might be better. Anyways, she is watching SK and then being hit with the fact that she's 43 years old was insane. 20-year age gap preventing me from simping for a beautiful woman. She's like, wait, y'all, I'm not actually 43. I'll never forget when you used to drive me to school. The music's louder than me? That can't be true. The reason I know that can't be true is because I can literally see it right here. This is the music. This is me. But I'll receive your feedback and turn the music down a bit. Anyways. It's just a loud song, even though the meters aren't going crazy. That's good to know. The Tekken talk today, I thought it was tomorrow. I would not lie to you guys about when the Tekken talk. Alright. Should we watch this shit? I want to listen to more music. Oh, hold up. I guess pop music is always louder. Make sure my mic is on full volume. Are you excited or scared of the season 2 update? I don't know what to believe. Ooh, plus James with the promo. Good thing I waited. You flug with Radiohead? Some of their shit, yeah. I was really into Muse for a long time, so Radiohead was pretty adjacent to that. Hold on, this is hot. I hope Reyna gets a Glock. She does, bro. That's what Forward 2 is. Thoughts on Playboy Cardi? I've only listened to some of his stuff in passing and his new album in entirety. I have nothing nice to say about the new album. How to learn matchups. I'm watching my replays. Yeah, that's good. Learn your punishes too. And then if you're still confused about it, do like first to 10 sets if possible. What's up, Mario Sleepy? Hope you're doing well. That thing you said in the stream about practicing stuff and stopping to do other things, come back to practice later, really helped me to improve in my Tekken gameplay. Not gonna lie, I really love the content. I'm a bit new to Tekken, this type of games, so I'm having a blast. Cheers, Cry Live. Thank you for the kind words. You into weightlifting? I used to be super into it. And then, in addition with some other miscellaneous failures I had in my life, I ended up falling off pretty hard. But I do want to get back into it regularly. It was like miscellaneous life failures and injuries. That combination of stuff fucked up my weightlifting routine pretty hard. But I strongly believe in the importance of health and fitness. It's a real do as I say, not as I do type of practice in my life. If that makes sense. I'm starting slow. There's a guy I watch, Renaissance Periodization. Switch to this account. This guy feels like the way he makes content reminds me of the way I would like to make content. So shirtless? No, the way he speaks. There's a where is it? It was like designing a program. This one. Hello, Raleigh. Thank you so much. Welcome to the stream. This guy, what does he say here? This is what I liked. Hey, wait, let me put this on the other browser so the VOD watchers can hear this. Hey, VOD watchers, I appreciate you guys coming through. If you do.
And training frequency is one of these things that the low frequencies work really.
First to 5 me, bro. Huh? The pause? What?
Really well. Your level of effort ratio to results is really high when you train low frequency, like 2 or 3 days a week. As you go 4 or 5 days a week, you want to train. There's a couple of things that factor into that equation. Number one is you just take the number of days in the week, divide by 18, multiply by time, just kidding. Take a number of days in the week and you pick out the days or a number of days that you can for sure make it into training regularly. Because taking a 5-day-a-week program, because I'm going to get you at 5 days is what it takes, great. But if you make the unfortunate error of overestimating your adherence abilities, you end up being like only available 3 days a week some days 6, some days 4. You will fall back on your plan, you'll have a bunch of missed days. It kind of sucks. Now, truth be told, the RPI Hypertrophy app completely covers you.
Yeah, so like he says shit like adherence is the top thing. And the way you set your expectation is how you he's racist. That's crazy. I didn't know that. But what he was talking about here was like the way you need to set your intention is like based on adherence. So he said what was it? If you make $1 million, that's objectively a lot of money, right? If you make $1 million, that's objectively a lot of money. But if your goal was to make $1.5 million, then as a human, you'll just feel shitty about it no matter what. And that was real. I was like, yeah. I'm interested in going to the gym. Ideally, I'd like to go 5-6 days a week, but realistically, I only get like 2 to 3 times a week, right? So the idea of adherence and setting yourself up with like multiple wins, it's similar to how we like train our dog. Like, obviously, we would want him to sit and stay for like 40 minutes or whatever, right? Not literally. But you have to stack up like wins. You know what I mean? So I think that's a pretty important topic or like approach to training. You know? Like, do what you can to stack up successes, because as a human, that's more important. And it's more important that you get to the gym 2 days a week for like a year than 5 days a week for 2 months, 3 months, get discouraged, and then stop showing up. You know, consistency is everything. So all right, how many? Okay, so I love this part of my playlist. We'll listen to the next 3 songs and then we'll review this thing. All right. Successes are proof of your capabilities. That's not at all what I think that translated to. I don't think that's at all what I meant. I've been realizing something how to draw this year. Yeah, no, I think that's valid. How do I become as beautiful as V? That's some crazy glaze, bro. Making me uncomfortable.
This guy's a molester!
I'm scared, Dad.
Time is the Tekken talk? An hour and 20 minutes? Maybe... I thought it was in 2 hours and 20 minutes. It looks like there's a tornado notification that shows up where it's done in the style of DBFZ. Yeah, well... Counter argument. Oh, what's up, Nina? I still think that stuff can be really OP. Like, getting counter hit confirms with a visual notification is a big difference. Like, for example, when a lot of high level players, I'm sure they'll add a few ms of delay so it's impossible to react. How can you be sure? How can you say that with so much certainty? What I was gonna say is, when we watch our replays, like at high level, often we just sometimes, I say often, it depends on the person, obviously, but a lot of the times we'll like go minimal UI. Even the command history is kind of visually cluttering, you know? Sometimes we just want to really look at the spacing and the movement. So I've watched replays with people where we literally do this and make it as minimal as possible. And then when a situation comes up, then we turn on the shit, you know? Even this shit can be a lot. It's not crazy. But I think Tekken is one of those games where you really gotta look, you know? It'll be better for newer players 100%. And that's something I do support, which is why I pray that by default it's off and it's a setting you can turn on. Because I think for tournaments it should be off. That also enables other shit that you might not normally be able to do, but the text allows you to do. Do you guys want to see an example? Maybe I'll save this for the actual video part. But like, here is a situation that will be easier to confirm if the screen flashes shit at you. Tourney play and rank need to have feature parity? No, they don't. There's already special style stuff that's unique offline versus online. What's up, Cyrax Slayer? Is Cyrax Slayer the Leroy of America?
Thank you for always helping the Tekken community. Love you lots, gang.
Hey, Raijin1, thank you so much for the 7 months. And Shinku Powa, thanks again for the 14 months. And Zadiel, thank you for the year. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. Jesus. All right, look at this. I think Bison was saying this is natural, maybe only at the wall. Yeah, at the wall, this is natural. Or on counter hit. If you get a big text box that says counter hit, you're gonna be getting smacked by this. That shit will suck. There's a lot of stuff that is not really reasonable to counter hit on the fly, but a big text notification could make it work. You know? This one too. This one is easier. This one's definitely easier, but the 2-jab one is insane. Because this one is... oh, they're both +1. This one's 17 frames. The 2-jab, though, is 11 frames. Yo! It works in the open. You see what I mean? So, like... Axis thing? Yeah, maybe. And maybe Steve, like, I don't know, his idle stance affects it. Are you saying we shouldn't have text that says counter hit? I think we shouldn't. I think punish is nice, but I think counter hit is nasty. Yeah, but we're talking about counter hit confirms. Why not? I have a whole video on it, but basically I think that Tekken has strings and slower startups that make counter hit confirming very viable, unlike 2D fighters or anime fighters where things happen like really on like faster frame speeds. Not like the rate of the game, but like startup frames of moves. Yeah, there's like a skill component to counter hit confirming, and there are things balanced around how hard it is to counter hit confirm. I made a whole video on it. I definitely recommend checking it out, and we're going to talk about it again. Let me turn on random block. Let's see. Yo, that's actually still pretty doable. Anyways, let me use the restroom and then we'll watch this video and record it. All right. Give me a sec. I'll be back. See you in a bit.
This guy's a molester!
Okay, I'm back. Hello. Okay. Okay. Are you gonna stream the Tekken Talk on YouTube as well? No, I don't. I can't stream to YouTube because my connection to the YouTube server is not stable. I only stream to YouTube if it's my only option. All right. I'm gonna read this. It's gonna be 15 and a half minutes of reading. Best Indian food? I haven't had enough Indian food to give an informed opinion, but I will say garlic naan is pretty fire. I've had other good Indian food too, but I can't remember what it's called. All right. Harmon Z, thank you for gifting a sub as well. Appreciate it. All right, shall we do this in one take? You guys think it's a one take wonder? I think we can do it. Where's the alert box here? Out in the way. Okay, cool. Okay. By the way, my opinion on the counter hit thing, in old Tekkens, there used to be like not a different hit spark at all. You had to recognize it by the fact that you interrupted your opponent's movement, which is my argument for not needing counter hit sparks. I think the hit spark is a newly added crutch that I personally do benefit from a lot because I suck at counter hit confirming. But people were able to do it just by recognizing the movements of their opponent. Now, I will say that that is harder with rollback netcode, which is something I want to talk about too. So let me see here. All right. Okay. What's up, you guys? It's VDX. The Evo YouTube channel got the chance to interview the Tekken devs directly and ask them some questions about their design philosophy going into Season 2. Now, the interview is completely in Japanese, so basically what I wanted to do is read it out to you, read out the subtitles, so in case you don't have a chance to listen to it, you just want to catch it while you're driving or something, that's what I'm here for. Afterwards, I'll give my thoughts on the changes, and we're all looking forward to Season 2. But here we go. That is really loud. I wonder if this new Season 2 theme is going to be a thing. Okay, wait, hold up. Sorry, guys. My fan is running. My fan is running, and YouTuber audiences get mad when my fan is running because it's loud. Ugh, fuck. Whoever cursed me for the take, shoot that guy. Oh, he showed himself again. Yeah. Take care of him. Get rid of him. Asshole. All right. Let's see. What's up, you guys? It's VDX. The Tekken dev team was just interviewed by the Evo YouTube channel talking about upcoming changes to Season 2. The interview is completely in Japanese, so what I want to do is just read out what the development team was saying along with the video, kind of podcast style, and then I'll give my thoughts on everything as soon as it's over. Let's get started. All right, new song for Season 2. I wonder if it'll be character select or main menu. Oh, sorry. Okay, all right. I'm already missing some stuff. Here we go. To me, I wanted Tekken 8 to make the series feel fresh. This is Nakatsu speaking. The key word being aggressive. We aim to make a fun battle system where it would be more offensive focused, where Tekken up until this point has been more defensive. In regards to making it feel fresh, I think it's going well, but on one hand, because offensive play is strong, it feels the game nature leans a little too much towards offense. On that part, I feel there's still much to be worked on. There are both good and bad sides to this, but I think we're able to freshen up one part with... All right, guys. Immediately, one issue I'm having is how many pauses there are. What do you think about 1.25 speed? I have to match his subtitle cadence. That's so hard. I can do it. Hold on. Skill issue. We got it. Hold up. All right, last take of the intro. If I fail this time, it'll be fine. I just have to go. I just have to be better. That's all it is. I just simply have to be better. Don't cop out. All right, last take on the intro. We'll do this. It's simple, really. It's really quite simple. Yeah. All right. Oh. We'll see if the fan's loud enough. Just read it, forehead. Shut up. You sound like me when I get my throws broken. Yeah, all right. What's up, you guys? It's FeeDX. The Evo YouTube channel just interviewed the Tekken devs and asked about their philosophy and upcoming changes to Season 2. Now, the entire interview is in Japanese, so what I thought I would do is just read out the subtitles to you in case you want to hear what's going on, but you're busy driving, eating, sleeping, etc. All right, let's get started. I'll be reading a bit slower than I normally do, just because the subtitles move a bit more slowly than I would normally speak. Nakatsu says, to me, I wanted Tekken 8 to make the series feel fresh. The keyword being aggressive. We aimed to make a fun battle system where it would be more offensive focused, where Tekken up until this point has been more defensive. In regards to making it feel fresh, I think it's going well. But on one hand, because offensive play is strong, it feels the game nature leans a little too much towards offense. On that part, I feel there's still much to be worked on. There are both good and bad sides to this, but I think we were able to freshen up one part within the system. He continues, alongside making a game where attacking is strong, by memorizing attack patterns, there's the aspect of anyone having fun and improving. There are a good number of new players that are beginning from Tekken 8. There is also a lot of players at various events that started with Tekken. Even at the Master Cup we participated in the other day, there were a lot of young participants we never saw before competing. Harada notes that they were really young. Michael Murray notes that there were a lot of women too. Skipping back a bit to catch the rest of what they said. Nakatsu said, when we look at it as a title after a year, while there were places we succeeded quite a bit in Tekken development, I gather there are a lot of things to address going into Season 2. He notes that there are things that he'd like to improve. We don't really intend on changing the aggressive nature of the game where it's fun to be the aggressor. And that's an important thing to note. But on the other hand, in Season 1, because it was constraining for defensive players, and the heat system made it easy to make matches pretty one-sided, in terms of strategy, I feel we weren't able to balance the defensive aspects that well. That's why for Season 2, we'd like to focus on defense in terms of the lateral aspects of a 3D fighting game. And the ease of defending when being attacked. I think that's a big deal. The heat system is the starting point and factor in which your attacks can get really explosive. Theories get created on how a player or character should win to a certain degree. Harada says battle strategy theories. Nakatsu says, yes, it's correct that people theorize these things. In order to expand upon this in Season 2, we're doing a particular thing. Expand upon the battle strategies. When you're in heat state and taking a lot of damage on the ground, what's he going to say? We're adding the ability to recover about 30% health from the actual damage inflicted. Wow. Okay. In doing so, you now have the strategy of fighting while preserving your heat gauge. I'll have to see this in-game. I'm not sure what this means. Up until now, the correct action when you activated heat was either to heat smash or rush down your opponent utilizing the unique individual power-up properties of heat. But by preserving heat, strategies are expanded upon. Okay. So saving your meter, allowing you to fight in more advantageous ways in neutral, compared to when not using heat. Also this time, there are a number of characters that are now able to use Heat Burst and Heat Smash from their special stances as well. That's a huge change. By doing this, you now have strategies where you can use Heat Bursts that stop an opponent's attack by utilizing stances. If we change the way people activate their Heat Burst, it can expand the way players utilize heat to attack. In that way, there are more things you can do than in Season 1. The reason why we made it so you could crouch after heat engagers was for characters like Anna, who have 2 strong choices from crouching. Because had we left it in Season 1, where you could only stay standing, characters would lose out on the merits of their kits. Of course, there are other characters aside from Anna with a strong crouching game that would suffer since they couldn't crouch. I'm thinking like Yoshimitsu, Dragunov, Law, Shaheen. To remedy that, we made it so players can now crouch. Okay, yes. Murray says, I think the thing that people don't understand, that when creating a game, you have to have a solid key concept. If you don't uphold that, the game won't be interesting. Harada says it'll break down. Murray says, so we don't waver from being aggressive. In doing so, it guarantees a degree of fun. There are places where it might be unfair, so rather than tossing the concept out, you just fix wherever the unfairness is. Nakatsu adds, basically fixing, nerfing, or reducing the frequency of wherever it's unfair. And Harada says it's not a case of zeros and ones. People think it's as simple as 0 and 1. Harada says, like we believe that we have a good balance, but nothing in the world goes that well. Anytime you raise one, the other will drop. Should you raise both, it ends up being half-baked. So you end up losing out on the good aspects. Whenever you raise the other, whatever you raise, the other needs to drop. When you look at the reactions regarding Tekken 8 and where it changed most, this is Harada again, a lot of the negative feedback surprisingly came from the veterans. That's not very surprising to me, personally. But Harada says, much of the dissatisfaction surprisingly came from the people who had been with the series for a long time. Conversely, there are people who thought Tekken 8 was interesting. For example, whether or not Tekken 8 is easy for new players or not is a different story, like completely different. People that are able to overcome that wall and find it interesting end up liking the structure of Tekken 8. That's why they say Tekken 8 is interesting. And then in regards to strategy balance, if we try to balance it more towards the preference of the veterans, of course the satisfaction of the people that originally found Tekken 8 interesting will drop. So it's quite a trade-off there. But all things considered, we see by how much an aspect might be too extreme. And honestly, we balance while monitoring. The subject of where, I'm assuming he says where to balance, is not very simple. It's super minute in the degree, or rather, minute in the adjustments that are made. When you look at the results from esports and the game as Season 1, Michael Murray said, Nakatsu and I were talking about this, we were expecting unknown people to pop up in Season 1. Harada says, there's a rise in people that weren't able to be active until now, or even unknown people. But conversely, in the end, people who are skilled go to the high ranks. They end up climbing ranks. But the characters that win or are the top 8 characters are actually quite scattered. Especially with 7, people like veterans mostly would question why certain characters or players kept winning. Especially back in Tekken 7, I think is what he means. People like veterans that complained are actually the ones who got the best results in Tekken 8. Based on the results, Tekken 8 seems to be it for them. So, another interesting thing is veterans also complain about how they don't really like the new system. The inconsistency is kind of funny. What stands out and what doesn't. We do our best to see to it that everything comes to a fine balance. This is still Harada speaking. But looking at the results from esports, it seems good and going the way we imagined it. Michael Murray says, I spoke about this with Nakatsu, and the thing that makes the game a good product, I'm excited to see what he says next, is that people that have never played Tekken that start from 8 can have the feeling of, if I actually try, even I can win. But they're obviously not going to be able to beat Mishima Star. Mishima Star is an old head. I haven't seen him in forever. Harada says, right. They're likely not going to win. Veterans are veterans for a reason, says Harada. Murray says, we won't say it's perfect. Nakatsu says, having the chance to win is important in continuing to play fighting games. Harada says, that's true. Managing that is difficult. Nakatsu says it's important to have the feeling of, yeah, I might win the next one. The reason why we're improving the movement aspect is the fact that Tekken 8's game nature is aggressive. In 3D fighting games, you can use lateral movement as a defensive maneuver to dodge attacks. Yes, that is by design. With lateral movement, or rather, since you can buffer sidesteps, interesting to use the buffer. Depending on how your opponent attacks, you're able to evade. Buffing that defensive aspect is one thing that we're measuring. Another thing is how for the entirety of the Tekken series, you couldn't crouch sidestep into the foreground while crouching, right? So that's a big change coming to Season 2. The new players that started from 8 found it difficult to understand why you couldn't do that despite being able to move laterally. So they're explaining the change of sidestepping from crouch into the foreground. Even for us who've played the series, we didn't know why, so we wanted to fix that. In order to buff the defensive aspect and to improve on a point that didn't make sense for new players, we made it so people can move sideways into the foreground while crouching. Characters can move better to respond to attacks, strengthening defensive movement. Those are the changes that we're adding. Murray says it wasn't intentional, but rather it was a technical limitation. Harada says, yes, we're sorry. Harada says, we're sorry, we wanted to make it that way, but it was difficult then. It was a scripting issue, says Murray. Nakatsu says it required engineering and would take time. Sorry, I have to rewind. It was required engineering and would take time, so we just weren't able to do it until now. Murray says, based on that, players would create strategies. Harada says, right, and it became kind of a strategy within Tekken. Murray says, for example, Kazuya's axe kick. They can't move into the foreground, so I'll do this, is basically what happened. Nakatsu says, that's why by adding the option to move sideways, it improves the defensive aspect, allowing players on the receiving end to test new plays against their opponent's attack. So it's interesting to me that the dev team has acknowledged that there's a built-in metagame based on that technical limitation. It's cool that they, have recognized that. For attackers, they need to figure out how to adapt to that. It's a new field of strategy. Harada says there's a lot of situations where it won't be a 50-50, which is a good thing. Murray says, for me, I like that nerfed kick from Dragunov we showed on the Tekken Talk Live. They're talking about the Pokemon style Ghost v Ghost. They showed gameplay where QCF4 doesn't hit on the ground anymore. Murray says, all the players online would spam that move so much. I really liked that they changed that. Harada says, now that's really specific. Nakatsu says, you seem to have suffered a lot personally. Murray says, a lot of damage. The thing I wanted to say is, for whatever reason, people think that I made that decision with Harada-san. Harada says, that's not true. Murray says, yeah, people on Twitter. That's not it. We have roles on the team. And Murray says that his role at the start of the project was working with Nakatsu to nail the key concept of aggressiveness. In my current role, says Murray, I play the game a lot and give feedback with the player's feelings in mind. This is pretty bad if it's a 50-50 here. Nakatsu, do something. That's what I keep doing there, right? And Harada says, yeah, you say that honestly. Murray says, that's why I buy the fight passes for PC and PS5 and complete both, probably to get a sense of both player bases. With that, I can go, a portion of players here are just being salty, but a portion of players might have a point here. That's why for me, it has to be Dragunov's kick, ignition switch. Harada says he got pretty specific there. Nakatsu follows up. Also, it's not really an adjustment point, but in Season 2, I wanted to make it easier for people like beginners to understand. So as a first for the Tekken series, you'll see things like combo count, counter hit, and punish mid-battle. As FDX here, I have a lot of opinions about that. Harada says things that are only in practice mode normally. Nakatsu says, right. When people actually see pop-ups like clean, they can go, oh, I was able to counter here, or this is a pretty big damage combo. editorial note. Can't you just look at the health bar for that? Anyways, sorry. Let's keep going. It's the first time that you could see this visual change during battle, which is a big change. I was kind of worried that it might be a bother or clutter to some, and thought maybe we shouldn't go through with the plan. But when we actually released it, it was easy to understand after all. I'm assuming in internal testing. Even when I'm playing, it feels good to know that a punish works. I agree with that. I think punish is a good one. That's why Nakatsu says he likes it. Harada says, I was pretty obstinate about that. I said, don't you dare put that in. And Nakatsu responds, right, a long time ago, you said don't do that. So this is a big deal. Harada says, me and Kimoto-san hated that. I'm not familiar with who Kimoto-san is on the team. If you can let me know in the comments, that'd be cool. Harada says, we hated it. The change to display numbers itself. Old head arcade perspective. Nakatsu says, did it seem difficult to like see? And Harada says, no, it's more so it becomes everything. I'm curious what he means by that. We basically wanted players to think about it themselves by not displaying numbers. Like kind of like an arcade style perspective. As for combos, if you can just see how large the combos can get, you get controlled by how high or how low combos can get. So conversely, we felt it was more interesting even if you didn't know those values. That's an interesting perspective. But recently, the thing that's changed since back then, there are a lot of people watching streams where they want to know what's happening. So this is where Harada's saying that this is for audiences as well. In addition to experiencing the same feelings as a player on the stream, this means that the number of players this time playing from home have increased. The times then were different compared to now. We really wanted to show people how interesting the analog Tekken was. That's why I said no. But this time, I'm open about it. Nakatsu says, that's really big. Throughout the year, there was no arcade version of Tekken 8. And ended up being the first game to launch simultaneously for home consoles. It was difficult for us, but at one point within the seasons, it felt like we had a 1.5 since the amount of changes we needed to add were as big as 2. I think he's talking about the defense patch, where they made heat bursts not tracking and throws not tracking, among other changes. Despite that, there were a lot of things we wanted to improve, says Nakatsu. There were places the players enjoyed and places that they felt dissatisfied with. As a team, we picked up the individual voices of players. Michael really worked on the patch notes. We wanted to meet the expectations of players with Season 2. So we debated over things and tried to improve things in earnest. A lot of things changed in terms of fighting there, but there's also a lot of things that are fun too. I'm assuming he means in Season 2. I sincerely hope you enjoy the adjustments found with your character, in addition to the changes made to the battle system, and the visual changes to the UI we talked about earlier that displays information. You can enjoy all the new things. I hope you try everything, all the small things included, and give us your feedback. Okay, so that was the entire talk. Thanks for sticking through with that. My thoughts. A few things. Very promising in my mind that they actively stated they wanted to make lateral movement better, right? They acknowledged that the defense or that the offense was too one-sided, right? I think that's a huge admission to make. I think that there was so much criticism about the Tekken devs like not listening or not paying attention or not understanding. This shows at least a base level they understand that the problem is that the offense was too one-sided. I think the insight that they're trying to balance between veterans and casuals is maybe a bit obvious, but it's cool, again, to hear them actually publicly say it, right? That we do care about the veterans, but when you buff something for the veterans, it becomes difficult for the beginners, right? Like paraphrasing, obviously, but I think that's an important thing. They prioritize the feeling of maybe I can win. Now, I think this is a consequence of maybe like the online era of games. I feel like when it was arcades or offlines, you're sitting next to somebody. If somebody's way better than you, generally they will try to give you tips and pointers to like improve and like to give them a chance, right? Like if you watch my Lily Pichu coaching sessions, she figured out that part really quickly. She'll be in a voice call. She's like, yeah, so this move you want to block low when she's fighting like Saikuno. And then she'll do the mid and it shows you, yeah, but here's the mix up, right? I think the online aspect of fighting games and the move to online is probably part of the consequence of that. And that actually plays into my perspective on the counter hit confirms and the on-screen text that they talked about, right? So Nakatsu talked about adding on-screen text when you land a combo or a punish or things like that. And I think for my full thoughts on that, I have a video on the second channel that I'll link below. But I'm generally against it in the sense that I think Tekken has historically given you ways to recognize these things outside of just hit sparks, outside of just notifications. I think Tekken has a lot of string offense and slower startup frames that give you the ability to kind of recognize these things with training, right? Going into practice mode or playing tons of sets against players and trying to counter hit confirm these things, you can feel yourself get faster as like a player, as like a human. And for me, I really value that feeling of improvement and speeding up. That's why I was generally against these changes. Yeah, here's the on-screen text. It says like tornado here. That's a big one. But again, my full thoughts are in the other video. What I will say though is that the move to rollback netcode and how that affects the fluidity of Tekken movement reading, I think arguably makes this necessary. In past Tekkens, you could really fluidly determine someone's position on screen and watch them close the gap, watch them hit a button. So if they were running into you and you did a string and you saw that they just twitched like they were about to do a jab, good players could confirm that and you could train yourself to confirm that. However, with rollback netcode, if a Mishima player is wave dashing at you, they're teleporting all over the screen, right? So I feel like this is an important compromise when it comes to that. The trade-off, of course, is there are some characters, for example, Yoshimitsu, that have some nasty hit confirms that are not really viable in a full game or like in a full speed game situation. But with this on-screen text, as shown in Street Fighter, there are people who use the visual notifications to identify these things. So, for example, I have it set to random counter hit, and I'm just looking for the counter hit spark here. I have to put my sword away. If I get the counter hit spark with the 2 jab, I can confirm it into flash. He hasn't done a single one. Yeah, I have player counter on shuffle, so I'm not tripping. There. That's a natural combo right there. So with on-screen text that shows you that it was a counter hit, things like that become way more viable. And that becomes not just a balancing issue, but, well, honestly, that is what it is. It becomes a balancing issue, right? So I think that already the counter hit spark makes people able to confirm things that were much harder to confirm before. Great examples like Dragunov's 1-2-1. If you watch the pro scene, Dragunov 1-2-1 constantly is being used. And that's because it's so viable to hit the first 2 buttons, see the spark, and then finish the string if you see the spark. Right? So it's not happening here, so I'm just going to do my safe high-mid jab string. But if I see it, I can just finish it and end up murdering somebody for it. I messed up. I'm not a pro player. But yeah, that's a crucial example of how it's not as simple as just clarity. There's also balancing issues and kind of, I think, making things easier, not necessarily in a gatekeepy way. I don't want it to seem like there's a gatekeep factor to this. That's not my point. My point is that by demanding a skill check on these things, we can actually improve and grow in our speed as like technical fighting game players. And I love that aspect of it. It's not about preventing other people from doing it. It's about imposing a skill check so that I can improve and like rise up to that. The one thing I do like, I actually think the punish one is pretty good. If you think about how this is designed for newer players and beginners, I think that the punish display is actually really, really good. I think that realistically, asking people to go into practice mode is consistently an issue. Asking people to look up the frame data is consistently an issue. Showing punish and allowing people to just play the game and figure things out is a good thing, I think. To me, that doesn't represent a balancing issue necessarily because a punish is a punish, right? That's purely a learning tool. It doesn't have the competitive advantage of seeing, you got a counter hit, run your offense, or finish the string, or, you know, do these other things, right? So a good point was raised by someone in chat that if you give it a delay so that it can't be used for a hit confirm, that would be really, really good. One other point I wanted to bring up related to this is they talked about visual clutter not bothering them. And I want to test it out before I give a solid conclusion on this. But if I go to my replay mode, a lot of VOD review, especially among like if you get coaching from like a pro, coaches will often ask you to remove a lot of the UI. Obviously, this is coach by coach and player by player, but when your focus is heavily on the spacing, the character models, the movements and things like that, every bit of visual clutter actually does like matter. I'm not saying this just to be dramatic, but we will watch our replays with like the inputs off, right? If you're troubleshooting your own gameplay, I actually encourage having inputs on to see if you're making a mistake. But when we're doing like strategic analysis or like, am I playing the matchup well? What is my spacing like? In those cases, we often turn a lot of these things off because we know the frame data, we know the situations, we're just looking at the actions taken. And sometimes we'll even take off like the high, middle, low thing, right? Tekken is a game that there's so much to analyze and pay attention to just with each character's movements and the moves they're choosing. So as much as visual noise probably is not going to be that big of a distractor at most levels, I do think it does matter that sometimes it can get in the way. So obviously we'll have to test it out, and I don't want to give a concrete opinion on it until I've actually gotten to try it. But that's my initial reaction to those changes. Aside from that, I'm really happy that I think they openly admitted that the offense was too one-sided. I think it's rare that you'll see devs really make these kinds of admissions, at least in the games I've played. I feel like to acknowledge that they swung too far the other way, openly state that, yeah, we want to stick with the offensive aggression component, but give defenders better options, is pretty cool. And then the next thing I'm curious about, they talked about like what the preserving heat strategy. I want to see what that was about. Let me scroll around, see if I can find it. This seems interesting to me in a couple ways, because currently the heat system, like they said, is you either use your heat smash or you just start like beating somebody up and going crazy and trying to use your god mode as quickly as possible. But they're saying when you're in the heat state and taking a lot of damage on the ground, so maybe you're specifically grounded, we're adding the ability to recover about 30% health from the damage inflicted. What is that about? Does it involve spending the rest of your heat gauge? It says you have the strategy of fighting while preserving your heat gauge. What does that mean? You know, I want to see, and maybe they'll reveal it in the Tekken Talk later tonight, which I'll also be doing a summary video on, that will address what this is. Because I'm so curious what this heat preservation, heat restoration thing is. Maybe you heal more if you still have a heat gauge, right? So like if you still have your heat gauge in reserve, like you haven't activated it, then you heal more. Or yeah, heat burst from the ground. There's so many things that could mean. So I really want to know what they have to say about that. But that's about the end of my thoughts. This has gone on long enough. Thank you for sticking around. Hopefully the read-through was smooth. I tried to match the pace of the subtitles. Translating is not my forte, so it's the best I could do. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that, please leave a like and a comment. Let me know. And we'll be covering the Tekken Talk in a later video coming soon. Thanks so much. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. That read-through was sloppy, but I don't want to do it again. I don't think there's another choice. It was so annoying that there were so many long pauses, but I guess there's nothing we could really do about it. The best thing I could have done is maybe transcribe the entire thing. Did you just say sloppy toppy? Shit, I shot the wrong guy. Damn it. Sorry, Dr. Cannigan. It wasn't that bad. See, there's a difference between it was good and it wasn't that bad. I thought it was all right. Do you know, like, do you think I got to go home, get a C, which is all right, and get dinner? That's a joke. For legal purposes, that's a joke. I love you, Mom and Dad. That's a joke. You know what I'm saying, though? I'm not really cool with average, all right? But if you enjoyed it, that's what matters. Visette, thank you so much for the resub. Young P, thank you for the prime, bro. Peter Panda, thanks for the 2 months. And Donnell, thanks for the 2 months. That reverse peace sign is pretty cursed if you're from England. What does this mean? Like, fuck you? Should I go like this? Not bad. Ain't getting you out of blue ranks? Fuck. It's everyday Fee fucking shoots the wrong guy. He should be a police officer. I am from America. It only makes sense when you use your heat, then you get heat again, then you get to use your aggressive mechanic to favor the defender. It's a good change. We don't know what the change is, though. We need to see it. I actually stayed because of it. It was really nice to have someone read the lines for you. I know my audience don't like reading. You guys think I just made that up? I know my audience doesn't like reading. I know most people don't like reading, and that's what I'm here for. You want to be an honorary Puerto Rican? Do you have the authority to grant that? Sweaty Swamp Jolt, if the display damage is the number last hit of the combo and the delay counter hit punish icons for half a second. Yeah, if they delay it, I think it'd be good. I think that's a good, elegant solution. Guys, this title is so inflammatory. Tekken devs acknowledge their mistakes. This video is gonna fucking pop off. Test and compare. Champion of clickbait. It's an ongoing skill I'm developing. Also, I'm gonna test both thumbnails. I don't know if you guys know, but YouTube has like a thumbnail test feature, but I'm curious which one you guys like more. You guys might be biased because you're in my stream, but I'm letting you in on the creative process. All right. This is thumbnail number 1. Pretty good, right? And this is thumbnail number 2. So 2 things. Basically, I'm going to test if people really... Like, a lot of people... Well, I say a lot of people. There are comments where people say, like... will you please stop putting your face in the thumbnails? But we're data testing, right? So basically, if you guys don't know how YouTube works, you can test different thumbnails like this. And it will serve them to you based on what it thinks you will like. Which is pretty exciting. With your face, it's easy to see it's your video. Exactly. And believe it or not, some people like my face. Also, yeah, so I was talking about the video I would link below. This video is fire. Look at that. This video, sometimes it doesn't take a lot to drop a banger video. I like this thumbnail a lot. I've been taking new thumbnail face pictures, and this one has been paying off in spades. That thumbnail goes hard. Firstly, if I didn't see your face, I might assume it's the original talk. I like that one pun, man. Let's see. I need to see when I finish yapping. You actually cooked? The team effort. My editors go hard too. Let me click on this real quick. Allowing player ignitions. Don't you displays in was 2-1. Air talk. Thanks for sticking through with that. All right, 1641. I should have called out the thumbnail jumpers. I love doing that. Talk. Translating the interview. 1641. My thoughts. Cool. All right, this video will be going up. You guys all saw it here, so you're ahead of the curve. Extra credit. You get a pat on the wherever. Run my fade. All right, let me pee real quick. Can you invite me? Let me pee. We have 30 minutes, I think. PP time. Be right back. All right, I set an alarm for 9 p.m. so we won't miss the talk. Gonna miss the Tekken Talk? Don't worry, we'll put out our summary video as soon as we can. Is there a mod that can